everyone was just a saying until one summer, everything changed. Welcome to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and today I have with me Jackie with Be Kind to Everyone. Jackie, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to join.
Oh, this is going to be such a fantastic conversation. But let's get started with, how did you end up at an IEP table?
Probably like most moms, it was never somewhere I thought I was going to be. But I am the mom to Jordyn. Jordyn is 20 and she has autism. So we have been on this journey a really long time. She was diagnosed at 2. We jumped in quickly, started doing things, and I've been at an IEP table ever since.
And you know what? Jordyn is 20, so you've been through a lot of ups and downs, and you've taken some time to think about what's next. What's next when there's not a classroom to go to, when there's not this structured opportunities. And Be Kind to Everyone has become this movement. I was gonna say moment, because it's this moment that I'm like, oh my goodness, like there's all these shirts all of a sudden popping up all over Facebook, and I'm seeing this Be Kind to Everyone. So tell us a little bit about what Be Kind to Everyone is, how it started, and then we're gonna talk about where it's going.
So when we first got the diagnosis, you're in those first few years, you're scared, everything's new to you, don't know what to do, you're looking for providers, you don't even know what some of these acronyms mean. But what we found is we got going, it got easier because you kind of get your footing, you get your group, you have your professionals. Well, then what we started noticing when she turned 15 and then 16 and then 17, you're like, that fear comes back. You had found a peace with things. You kind of got in your groove. And then the fear started creeping in more and more for my husband and I. What's going to happen when the bus stops coming? We have relied on a system in place for all these years. And then suddenly she's going to turn 22 and it's all going to stop. And not only just through the school system, most of your, regular OT speech providers, that stops. Your doctors, your everything changes, and you suddenly get that fear of the new parent again, because you're right back there at the very beginning of what are you going to do? And Jordyn has some fairly significant challenges. So we knew her being able to go out and get a job in the current system, the way it works, was going to be a challenge for her, getting that opportunity. And it was keeping us up at night. And like, how are we going to pay for someone to help her do something the rest of her life? It's like sending your kid to college forever. But we wanted more for her than just sitting and watching YouTube all day. We knew she could do that. She wasn't going to cause us any problems, but we wanted more for us. And so we just finally decided, we could spend forever worrying about what's not available, but let's shift and let's try to create something. And so one summer, 3.5 years ago, we got this idea, let's create something. And honestly, our goal that summer was to sell 40 shirts. I took pre-orders, I posted it on my personal page, and I was like, we created this shirt, this idea, we want to teach Jordyn's job skills. We'd love for you to buy a shirt. We want to sell 40. You'll get it sometime that summer. And it instantly took off, and we were like, whoa, we didn't even know if we'd be able to teach Jordyn how to roll and package one shirt. We thought that would take all summer if she could even accomplish that on her own. So that's how it started. We thought if we tried that summer, each summer we could try a new idea so we could hopefully be ready for when she aged out of the school system. We just had no idea we would hit a home run out of the park the very first time. But it started as this small dream to fix a problem that we didn't see out there, a solution for, and it just took off.
Yeah. So, I'm wearing my Be Kind to Everyone t-shirt for those who are listening and not watching this. I think just about everybody I know, they have a t-shirt. That's what happens in our disability community, right? We just, we talk about all the good things, and Be Kind to Everyone is one of those good things. So you didn't stop here though. You're just like, it wasn't like, okay, we hit a home run. This is great. Let's just make some more designs. And I know we've got some holiday things and everything looks very exciting on the outside. It's like, when's the new design coming? When's this? When's that? But you have a purpose that's happening behind the scenes that I really want you to share with all of our parents, teachers, admins, therapists, because like I said, you shifted the perspective and now it's no longer, what is Jordyn going to do when the bus stops coming? But you're like, how can we literally shift an entire system and, hiring processes that are happening in businesses and all of these big pictures. And I love that because that's like taking on a monster to do this. And we're all about the big challenges here. I'm like, we're changing special education IEP process. We're like, we're going to take it on. You're like, I'm going to change the business processes. So share some of the things that you're doing to kind of change that bigger picture behind the scenes.
So what we noticed was we've been given an unexpected gift of a voice. Never in a million years did I see our social media platform growing to the way it is. We have over 1 million followers on TikTok. We have 200,000 on Facebook. And we started noticing it wasn't only parents following us, it was educators following us, and it was just the general public. Business owners, executives, everybody was latching on to Jordyn's story and everybody was being inspired by it. We are showing what is possible if you're given the proper modifications, support, inclusive environment, what is possible. That is what is important to me. We've been given this voice and I want to make sure I'm using it to help others. Jordyn, it's been a ton of hard work on Jordyn's part, on my part, on my husband's part. But we've also had a lot of luck and support along the way. And I want to use that for the greater good. And so I'll give you an example. Last year, I think we all noticed everything stopped. When the world shut down, I think it gave us a glimpse into what it really looks like when this bus stops coming. Everything's in place and then the next day it stopped. Well, a large company reached out to us, one of the executives, and wanted us to talk to their leadership team, their management team, and it was IBM. And here I am, which is funny because you know me well enough to know I don't have a technical bone in my body. So here I am talking to like leaders and I'm like, oh my goodness. But I got to talk about what we were doing here and what a large company could do to set in place to create opportunities for others. And so for those that might not be familiar for what we do, Jordyn spent in IEP meetings for years, like maybe trying to work on one-to-one correlation. She would struggle to count to 15 because she'd get to 6 and she didn't care anymore. So she'd be floating off onto something else. And so we were like, well, how are we going to accomplish some of this? So we sell ink pens in packs of 15. Well, how am I going to get her package them if the system in place says you have to be able to count to 15 in order to package something? And I thought, but she's really good at matching. So I created a board in which it has pictures of the ink pens, 3 green, 3 yellow, 3 pink. And so she matches them and she knows when she fills up this board, you stick them in the bag and you move on to the next. That simple board that we created out of photocopies and poster board literally shifted her from probably never have been able to package anything on her own to literally working independently. She could package ink pens in packs of 15 for 2 hours. She can do it on her own now. So when I was talking to that leadership team, I was showing them things of like videos of here would be Jordyn without a modification. This is Jordyn working with one, because I wanted to take the opportunity to open eyes of we have to learn to view everything differently. We look at this as it can only be done one way. But when you start thinking outside the box, you realize who cares how it's done? What we want in the end is a package of 15 ink pens. Who cares how we got there? And so looking at things differently. And one of my favorite examples of this, I show on our social media examples of this. And I tell business owners, managers, I was like, I hope this inspires you. You might not be packaging 15 ink pens at your business, but I bet you could look around and see something you are. So one of Jordyn's best friends before the pandemic worked at Chick-fil-A. He was in charge of cleaning off the trays because if anybody's ever been in a Chick-fil-A at lunchtime, it is busy. There is a lot of trays to clean. Suddenly, all the Chick-fil-A closed inside because they only had a drive-thru open. And so he wasn't able to work. Well, fortunately, the Chick-fil-A owner at this location is amazing and she follows our story. And she got looking at our templates we made and she was like, you know what? They were having a problem. The line would get so busy, people were ordering salads and they weren't getting their full kits. So she made photocopy templates of the salad kits so that he could come in and package those salad kits the way we do ink pens. And that was like, it was a major thing to me because that's where we were using our social media for good to create change. Because what I want to see is every business, every single business looking at what could we at our business to create an opportunity for someone with a disability, and how can we think outside of the way we're doing it to make them successful? Because we have so many individuals aging out of the system. That's the way we're going to create change. It is literally every business learning from this and figuring out, how can I hire someone to do a job in my place?
I love that. And templates just make sense,
They do.
Maybe it's just the way that our brains work, being in the disability community of like, well, why wouldn't we just make a template? Like, we use visual schedules all day long. I mean, that's what it is. It's a visual prompt and how to get things done. So I hope that every business owner that hears this, or every teacher and every parent that's like, I wonder if my child could. Yes, they can, with a modification, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
It is going to be a flip in the mindset, because we've got, I call them old school habits and new school habits. It's the same thing in business. We have old school, habits that are done in business, and you're creating some new habits, some new norms of like, okay, this is how it needs to be, and how can we modify this? And I love that so much. Okay, so share with us, I know something just recently happened in the schools too, where you were able to make a connection between what you're doing as a company and what's happening in one of your local schools.
Yeah, so I'll backtrack just a little bit. We have Jordyn's class come into our shirt shop once a week. They come every Tuesday morning, and we set up different stations so that we can teach them job skills. We teach them about actually doing the job, but we teach them about staying on task, all the different things that you would need to know in a work environment. And we love it. But I also wanted to start thinking of how can, it's limited of what we can do literally within inside our walls. How can we reach more? So we have Sarah that works with us. She was a peer buddy in Jordyn's class for 5 years ago. So when I first got the idea of the shirt shop, she was literally the first buddy we had with Jordyn. She's worked with us since day one. And so I said, Sarah, I want to try you going into a classroom. I want you to take what we're doing here and move it into a classroom and see if it works. So it was for World Kindness Day. Sarah made the templates. She went to a class and they made little mini kindness kits so that way the class then got to give what they made to all the staff in their building. But it worked so well. We loved it. And so what we saw was not only did the kids do it, but she got to talk individually with that teacher about the importance of how we're doing it, taking, the modifications and making the templates. And afterwards, the teacher emailed me, and I knew the teacher, and that's why we wanted to start with her, because I wanted real feedback. And she said, I've been working on an idea for one of my students' IEP. And she was like, this today helped so much with how we're going to reach independence in this IEP. And that was exciting for me. One of the next steps I want to do is figure out how we can now start doing that more like via Zoom. Can we make some kits and mail it to a classroom and then do a Zoom meetings with someone? But I want to not only help the student, but I want to help shift teacher mindsets. Like sometimes we just get into our ruts. I know I do as a parent, and I think we all do. And sometimes all you need to do is see this other idea way of doing it, and it starts getting your mind racing. More than anything, it starts getting your mind excited. And that is what I hear from so many teachers that follow our page is they're getting ideas from what we're doing. And that is incredible because I have gotten so many ideas over the years from educators. So for me to put those in place and then for others to be able to learn from me, that's how we're really going to make bigger change versus just the individuals I can touch one-on-one in this shirt shop. If we can start getting ideas and getting those teacher brains rolling and parents, that's how we're going to really create the shift that needs to be to create more opportunities for everyone.
It's so very important. I have a personal experience that just happened this week where my brother got hired at Panera, and that's because the manager knew how to modify the interview process. And kind of the mind-blowing part of it was my mom was in the building, but yet the manager never asked for my mom's help. And for those of you that don't know, my brother's 44 with Down syndrome, and he does not have the best verbal skills. In fact, that's one of his weaknesses. Great receptive skills, can follow directions, can do, prompts and all of these things, but he can't carry on a conversation like you would typically at an interview process. And to be able to have somebody who recognized that, didn't even ask my mom for help, gave him the benefit of the doubt, that's what I'm excited about. Yes, I'm excited my brother's working at Panera. I think I'm more excited about the interview process and that somebody had high expectations and gave him the chance to be an independent adult and be successful. So I just want to encourage everybody, like it's huge, right? That's what we need. We need more people to have these high expectations of what is possible versus what is the barrier based on how things have always been done.
Yes. Oh, I know. I saw your social media post the other day about that. And I was like, oh, this is so awesome.
It's so good. It's so good. And, and now I'm like, oh, more excuses to go order some more pick twos. And like, I'm all in, in there. So, all right. So let's give a word of encouragement to everyone. Of course, everybody, I'm going to have all the links of all the places that you can find Jackie. And Jackie's actually going to come be a guest expert inside of our VIP inner circle. So she's going to be doing a teaching towards the end of this school year where you're going to be able to interact with her, ask questions, and really kind of dig into some of the details, because a lot of people are like, this sounds great, but I don't know where to get started, whether you're a teacher or a parent in this type of programming. So she's going to drop some knowledge with us in a private conversation. So please, if you're listening to this and you're like, I need into the inner circle because I need into this conversation, please send us an email or follow the links below. But before we go, let's give a word of encouragement to specifically our high school teams and our parents of high schoolers, because I feel like they get left out. We're always talking elementary and all the cutesy stuff that's happening. So when you, what do you want to say to somebody who is in that high school years? What do you need to say to the staff? And what do you need to see the parent as they start to navigate these new waters?
I want to say, so often we say the improvements come in younger kids. We have seen more improvements in Jordyn in the last 3 years than we have ever before in language, in job skills, and independence, and everything. And truly, it started with the shift from fear to hope. We stopped thinking of everything she couldn't do, and we changed our perspective. And we just figured out, let's break things down into smaller steps. Let's focus on one thing at a time. But when we shifted from fear to hope and we started creating our own opportunities, that might be in your house. It might be getting your child to unload the dishwasher successfully, starting with the spoons, but get them doing something independently. Because even if that's not a job, when your child ages out of school, if they can start doing a lot of things around the house, I promise you, you'll feel good about that. But we've got to empower our kids, and we've got to start small and celebrate those successes. We learned with Jordyn, everywhere she goes now, people acknowledges the great things she does. That just builds her up more, her pride, her self-esteem. And if Jordyn has been able to do this, so can others. Jordyn has a lot of struggles. It is not just this super high functioning kid. She has a lot of struggles, but she is now working independently. And look for modifications, look for different ways of doing it, and create your inner circle, create your team around her of people that believe in her, and be one of those people. But I just feel like we have started seeing the sky can be the limit. These kids can become adults, they can be successful, they can be as independent within their ability. But if you would have told us 4 years ago Jordyn could work independently, that would have been a huge stretch for us. And we are now seeing it every day, and it's incredible.
I love that. All right, everybody, that's your homework. I'm a teacher by nature. I got to give you some homework. Your homework is to work on that mindset to flip from fear to hope. And I want you to keep in mind, I love that you broke it down to, she has made more progress in the last 3 years than you had seen. And probably, it was the momentum. She has momentum. Yes. And I love that, because I think for so so many parents have heard like, well, your child is maxed out. We're not going to reach that next milestone, but that simply doesn't have to be true. Jackie, thank you for sharing those truths, sharing the journey, bringing the hope. And I cannot wait to continue the conversation. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. I love everything you're doing. So thank you for giving me this morning.
All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.